All right, let's take a look at Warlock Traitor's Edition. So this is a Drive-Thru RPG print-on-demand book. It's about 145 pages. There's the spine, and the back says, Warlock is a rules-light role-playing game that aims to emulate the feeling of old-school British tabletop games of wondrous and fantastical adventure. It's by Fire Ruby Designs. The link, if you want to pick it up, is down in the description. So let's take a look at it. It's available, obviously, in print and PDF. So one thing to say about this is that this is, like I said, a print-on-demand book. Here's the table of contents. And just a sidetrack here. So if you have a book that's messed up from Drive-Thru RPG, reach out to them. Don't leave a bad review or something like that. That really has nothing to do with it. It's about the product. There's a lot of people that give reviews, and it's just about how their book came, and that has nothing to do with the people who made the game. So this book has got a little bit of an issue with it, and what it is it's a little bit of a crease or something right there. And what I think it's from is this big square block here of black. A little bit too much ink, and it got a little wet. And when they put it together, it kind of made a little crease there. So if this bothers you, reach out to them, let them know, and they will more than likely give you some credit or print you another book. Okay, they've helped me out every single time I've had an issue. So you'll see that throughout this video. So from what I could gather, this game is trying to be like Warhammer Fantasy, which is cool. I mean, that's neat. It uses 2d6, it doesn't use a percentile, and it's an easier game. It's a little bit, it's more of an OSR kind of light game, but OSR in the sense of Warhammer Fantasy. And that's what they mean, I believe, when they say old school British tabletop games. And of course, a lot of what we're going to see very much is reminiscent of Warhammer Fantasy. So normal stuff. It's got some cool art here on the sides. It's got some cool spot art of weapons and stuff. And the art definitely has a European type feel. And it's pretty consistent with what it looks like throughout the whole book. A little bit on the world of Warlock, but it's not a very big thing about it, setting-wise. They just tell you a little bit of stuff, maybe to spur on some imagination. And so you can see here, a little bit of some strangeness, but they'll take care of it. So you've got beginning skills. So you're going to have characters are competent individuals, so they start with some aptitude here. 10 of the skills on the sheet of they're called adventuring skills on the character sheet, are going to start at level 6. These are where the characters are has the most natural ability. 10 more begin at level 5, and the rest start at level 4. You got stamina, you're going to roll up. Luck, you're going to roll up, so it does use luck. They call their races communities, and I know a lot of people are using different words for it, and that's fine. Humans, elves, dwarves. There are some stuff in here telling you about if they can see in the dark and stuff like that. One thing I noticed about the game is that they don't really set kind of rules stuff, crunch, separately from some of the paragraphs. You're going to have to read and pull it out of those paragraphs. There's no like little blocks and stuff that got some information in there. Then you've got halflings, and then you got career skills. So it's going to tell you there's a big list of skills, and much like Warhammer Fantasy, it says when you create your character, you can assign 10 levels to those skills listed in your starting career. The only restriction being that you cannot exceed the maximum skill level shown. Remember to include the skill levels you assigned earlier when determining your skill level total. You also gain a career skill at a level equal to the lowest value of the 5 skills the career grants access to. As described on page 19, you'll need to write this in a space on your character sheet. So let's take a look here of all the skills. So as you can see, it's all pretty much a paragraph. There's no like plus this or plus that. Bargain, bow, command, crossbow, disguise. Fairly normal stuff. Large blade, lie, repair. And then you got career skill. So if you're a thief, you have a skill, pretty much a special skill called thief. And all the careers are going to have that. And this represents all the knowledge and know-how that come from working in that profession. Things that aren't covered in the adventuring skills themselves would be encompassed with that skill. So that's pretty neat. The character skill has a level equal to the lowest value of the skills. 5 for a basic career and 6 for an advanced career, granted by the career. So you start off with some basic equipment, and now this is one thing that's kind of neat, and I guess I could always steal this and use this for Warhammer Fantasy if I wanted. You're going to roll 4 times on your basic careers, and you'll get to choose one of those 4. So die number 1, they've got these little icons for these dice with pips on them. You roll a 3, you get boatman. You roll a 4, you get hunter. You get a 1, you get militiaman. you get 6. Ooh, you get Wizard's Apprentice. And then you get to choose one of those 4. It's very obviously a cool little rule that you could port over to Warhammer Fantasy. And then it's going to go into each one. It's going to tell you the skills and maximum level for each one of those. So obviously the Agitator's got Small Blade, Intimidate, Dodge, Persuasion, and Streetwise. Makes sense. A little bit of flavor text here. What equipment, and then it's got these 2 little rolls you can make for each of the different classes, different careers. So you don't exactly need this, but maybe to help you with a little bit of imagination with coming up with a backstory for your character. Beggar, Boatman, Bodyguard. There's not art for every single one of them. That would be a big task for probably a small group of people that made this game, and but they do have some art here and there. Bounty Hunter, Footpad. This is a cool piece of art here. Gambler. So very neat. I like the Hunter art. The Initiate's going to be kind of like a priest, and it's going to be your hopefully your healer of the group. Mercenary, Miner, Noble, Outlaw. Very cool. Very consistent artwork, obviously. Soldier, Thief, Tomb Robber. Wizard Apprentice, obviously going to give you 1 spell of your choice, and Command, Persuasion, History, Language, Incantation. So that's pretty neat. Traits you can pick for your character, or, whatever, clumsy, clever, competitive. Some equipment, telling you how to buy stuff. Pretty much, you got it's separated by commoner items, middle class items, and upper class items, and they're going to cost you different stuff, pennies, silver, or gold. A little bit of information here on the gods, and then you're going to have the core rules. Now, the core rules are very easy. You take a d20, you roll that, you add your skill level, and if you equal or beat 20, it's a success. Of course, there's going to be modifiers that the game master may impose upon you. An opposed skill test is going to be a d20 plus your skill, same thing, and the other person is going to do the same thing, and the highest of participants equals success. So you're just trying to roll higher than the other person, or the monster, or the bandit, okay? And again, you could have some modifiers. So that's the basic rule. You can test luck as well, and you're going to use your luck skill, obviously, in that test. If you pass, you avoid the situation. If not, well, bad luck. Improving, so you're gonna go skills that you have in your careers. You're gonna get in maybe a session or so. You'll get anywhere between 1 and 3 advances, much like Warhammer Fantasy. And every time you use one of those, you'll increase one of those skills up by 1 up to their maximum. Every time that you raise your character's active career skill, you also get 1 stamina. So that's cool. It represents the character gaining experience and getting tougher. Changing careers, it's going to cost you 5 advances to change careers. And it's going to tell you how you're going to be able to do that. So again, where Warhammer Fantasy First Edition kind of gets a little bit squirrely, this seems to have figured out what you need to do. You've got to get it says once they have changed careers, they're able to spend advances to buy levels on the skills of the new career. They can no longer gain levels on the skills of their former career that they have left behind. The maximum skill levels of careers are not cumulative, much like Warhammer Fantasy. If the maximum skill level is 10 for this career and another career's got that same skill at 10, you're not going to go any further. You've got to look for one for 20, much like Warhammer Fantasy. Advanced careers, once a character has entered 2 careers and obtained at least 3 adventuring skills at a level 10 or more, they may enter an advanced career. It costs 5 advances, just as before, and grants higher maximum levels for skills. As you can see here, you'll see Blunt at 14. These are higher here. Some at 16, Bravo, Watch Captain, Explorer, Mercenary Captain, Outlaw Chief, Minstrel, Spy, Scholar, and then here's a section on fighting. Again, pretty cool little piece of art here. So who goes first is interesting. So you roll these 6 to see which side goes first. So one combatant on one side takes an attack, makes an action. The other side, they have a combatant that makes an action, and it goes back and forward. A little bit different than some other games. Each side then takes it in turn to take an action with one of their members. So for example, if the games master won initiative, they would take an action with one of their combatants, then the players get to take an action with one of their characters, followed by the game master with a second enemy, and so on until everyone has taken an action and the round ends. And if you've got more people than others, then obviously they're going to take more actions. Combat actions, pretty normal. Movement, and here's melee attacks. To make a melee attack, you're pretty much going to do an opposed skill test against your opponent, with them adding their skill level with the weapon they're using. Whoever wins the conflict rolls the damage die for their weapon, inflicts stamina loss and potentially critical effects on the loser. Here's a very cool part here. Whoever initiated the attack gains 5 to their skill. So it's going to help you to be offensive. With a ranged attack, you're going to be going against their dodge. So like your bow skill versus their dodge skill. And of course, there could be penalties for long range and stuff. And again, you will not see like little charts saying -3. It's right here. The defender is aware of the attack. Shields also add to the level, the total dodge level of the defender. -3 for small shield and 5 for a large shield. The different weapons, you can see here, they've got different types of damage: crushing, slashing, piercing. That's going to be for critical effects. Mighty Strike. So this one's kind of interesting. If the winner of a melee or ranged combat obtains more than 3 times the result of the defender on the attack roll, they achieve a Mighty Strike. Roll the damage dice to determine stamina loss and add any modifiers as usual, then double the resulting loss of stamina. That's pretty powerful. Now, I will say it might bog down a little bit, you trying to do a little bit of quick math in your head, whether or not that's 3 times more. And then it's got armor. So armor is going to directly reduce damage. So light armor reduces the stamina loss inflicted by the damage roll by 1d3, modest by 1d6, and heavy by 2d6. Shields increase the armor level by 1 rank, so light becomes moderate with a shield. So it kind of bumps you up a little bit like AD&D 2nd edition did. So that's neat. And then you've got critical effects, effects of damage, criticals. If a character takes damage that brings them to below 0 stamina, this is a critical hit. To determine the critical effect, roll d6 on the critical table and cross-reference for the type of weapon used. If the damage taken was enough to reduce their stamina below 0, add 1 to each critical roll for each point of negative stamina. For example, if a character with 6 stamina takes 8 stamina damage, that will result in a critical hit with a modifier +2 to the value of that die roll. Very much like Warhammer Fantasy. And then how you heal, pretty standard. Then here we go with the critical slashing, 1d6 plus the total negative stamina. So cut through the artery dead, flight of the blade across the skull, dazed for 1d6 rounds, all actions at a penalty of 2, double vision for 1d6 days. So cool. So you got piercing, crushing, blast, and then you got magic. So pretty cool little section here. If a character attempts to roll a cast a spell and rolls a 1 on the 1d20 used in the skill test, they have potentially miscast. The spell fails, they pay the stamina cost as usual, and then they must immediately attempt another incantation skill test. If they succeed at the second test, all is well. If they fail, they have miscast and potentially deadly results that the strict wording of the spell was mispronounced, and as a result, they must roll 1d20 on the miscast table page. So very interesting. Casting spell costs stamina to cast it. It does not use mana or anything like that. It's pretty much straight life force that must be sacrificed. So all about spells. Here's miscasts. So your hands catch on fire, you take damage, and then the bottom is the caster's arms become covered in small scales. The caster's face is frozen in a grimace of pain for 1d6 days. Doesn't seem too terrible. The caster freezes like a statue for the next 1d3 days. That's pretty bad. So not exactly. The caster's skin is bleached white. All the caster's hair falls out. That's pretty neat. And so then we've got the same thing again. Following spells are examples of those that can be found across the kingdom. You can roll and see what you get up with these different ones with your different type of rolls. Wizard's Apprentice or Initiates may gain any of these with their starting spell rolling randomly. Remember that any spell may be cast by the character with the appropriate incantation skill check. So there we go. This has got the stamina loss, so Banish is 5. Dominate, Enchant, Feather, Fix, Hammer, Fumble, Knight, Path, Read, Speak, Unlock, Scene, Wall. Pretty interesting there. Section on magical items. Let's see, magical items tend to work 1 or 2 ways. They either allow a user to cast a spell without needing an incantation skill check, or they allow the user to cast a spell with an incantation skill check, but without paying the usual stamina cost. Either way, magical artifacts are usually only able to operate a limited number of times per day, or have a limited number of charges before they're exhausted. So not a huge section, obviously, here about magical items, where Warhammer Fantasy definitely did. And then the Bestiary. So it's going to go through your normal stuff of highlighting what the names of stuff, the entries, stamina, adventuring skills, armor. A generic value for adventuring skills when the being comes into conflict with characters outside of combat using this skill for its adventuring skills. And then some monster abilities: brittle, dissolve, poisonous, spellcaster, pretty normal. So dire wolves, you can see here, monster actions per round 1. There's their claw and fang attack. Their armor is a D3 hide. Adventuring skills 4. Stamina is 12. That's pretty much their hit points, and they have tracking. So that's pretty neat. So we've got some art here and there. Dragon, 62 for them. Elf, Ghoul, Giant. I like that piece of art. It's pretty cool. Goblin, Griffin, Halfling, Hobgoblin, Ooze, Ratman, Skeleton, Treeman, Troll. Pretty normal standard fare. Unman, that's pretty cool. They're mixed between bizarrely with beasts, often with animal heads and limbs. So kind of like beastmen, obviously. Wights, wyverns, and wraiths. And then a section here called Mastery. And this is obviously going to tell you more about how to apply these rules and to give you some game master type tips, discussing the first game, the setting of Warlock, what do the characters do, what does the game master do, what is the scenario, very basic stuff, obviously. Scenario forms. Now off to adventure. Here's the character sheet. It's a little busy. I mean, it looks neat. Some of this looks a little small for me to have to write. I'm pretty sure there's a cool way to have a neat looking character sheet that's a little bit more functional. Some of this is very small, like in here, to try to write something down. But it looks cool, so it's pretty neat. So overall, I think it's a cool way to maybe play Warhammer Fantasy in a easy to get, different, easier, obviously, rule set with 2d6. Doesn't have a huge section on magical items, but it's got a good bestiary. It's got some good spells. Of course, the careers are definitely going to be the highlight. But just a neat kind of take on Warhammer Fantasy, definitely first edition. I'm not exactly sure, how great the opposed roll works. Mainly because, I'm attacking you. Now, granted, of course, when you attack, you get that +5. It's definitely going to help you. And it does help the other person maybe get a chance, should the attacker roll low, that they can do damage back. And then maybe whenever they act, they get lucky and they hit again. So it could be pretty brutal. And of course, it's got the great critical system reminiscent of Warhammer Fantasy. So it looks like it definitely reproduces Warhammer Fantasy in a cool, streamlined way. And I'm not exactly sure what the difference is with this Traitor's edition. I know it's kind of newer, but they've added some stuff, I guess, in there. And overall, pretty neat. So check it out if you like Warhammer Fantasy and want to try something a little bit different, a little bit, a little bit more lighter, I guess. Even though Warhammer Fantasy is pretty light, but a book you can get in print, and hopefully have a lot of fun with it. So if you've ever checked out Warlock, let me know what you think about it. I appreciate you watching, and check out the next video. Thanks.